Hi, Arcfieldweather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, February 21st. It's Washington's Day. Quite a quiet morning here in the Mid-Atlantic region. It looks like it'll become much milder today, and the milder weather in the eastern part of the nation will last right through midweek. In fact, Wednesday could turn out to be the warmest day of the week. High temperatures perhaps up to 65 degrees in some parts of the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. It then turns much colder by the time we get to Thursday, and there is certainly a threat for some ice, perhaps even snow in some areas of the Mid-Atlantic region later Thursday into Thursday night, maybe all the way into Friday. And probably the greatest potential for a significant icing event lies north of the Mason-Dixon line, north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Even the northern suburbs of D.C., however, could get in on some of the action with respect to an icing possibility. Again, later Thursday into Thursday night. We'll talk about that, kind of focus in on that over the next few minutes. Longer term, there are many signs that we've been pointing to over the last couple of weeks about the resurgence of winter in the eastern part of the nation after this mild break over the next few days. Again, mild, quite mild between today and Wednesday, but things change after that. There will be a cold frontal passage on Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening that ushers in much colder air by the time we get to Thursday. First of all, here's a teleconnection index we've been kind of focused in on recently. It's from the Pacific Ocean, the eastern Pacific Ocean. Specifically, it is known as the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, the EPO, and when this goes into negative territory, kind of allows an overall upper air pattern that can produce some cold air outbreaks into the central and eastern U.S. from northwestern Canada and Alaska. And the latest modeling continues to show that this will drive back into negative territory, and that's, again, more favorable position for the EPO teleconnection index, correlated with a pattern that is more favorable for bringing cold air outbreaks into the central and eastern U.S. Over the next few days, we're kind of flirting with the neutral line here. This is the neutral line with respect to the EPO index. But by the time we get to March 1st, and this is the arrow here represents March 1st, next Tuesday, it really starts a pretty significant drop here. The green line is the mean of these particular model runs here, the ensemble model of the GFS, and it indeed not only slides into negative territory, but it looks like it will be persistent. Again, a favorable sign for cold air outbreaks into the central and eastern U.S. as we flip from February into the first half of March. Now, in the near term, this is what we're potentially facing in at least parts of the Mid-Atlantic region on Thursday and Thursday night. This is a total freezing rain accumulation by the time we get to the end of the week as depicted by last night's run of the GFS model. This is an ugly look to it for sure. Really anywhere from the northern, this is D.C. right in this region right here, anywhere across the northern suburbs of D.C., but especially north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border in the state of Pennsylvania. The threat exists for a significant icing event, again, later Thursday into Thursday night. Well, let's kind of walk through the zero-Z run of the operational GFS, and a couple things we'll be looking at over the next few days. First of all, the upper level field, the vorticity field of 500 millibars, which is what we're looking at right here. And the fact that it looks like there'll be a cold air damming setup here where high pressure builds to the north and east across southeastern Canada by the time we get to Thursday morning. That will produce some cold air all the way down the spine of the Appalachians into the central part of the Mid-Atlantic region, potentially setting us up for an ice event later Thursday into Thursday night. And the cold air mass can't come in full throttle. That's why ice, in my opinion, is kind of more of a threat here than snow across, certainly across the D.C. area and even Philadelphia metro region. You get up to upstate Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, certainly snow can be significant, but looking at more of an ice event in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. First of all, notice the lines here. We want to keep notice of the lines here because the winds generally flow parallel to those lines, and as we get into the the middle and latter part of the week. Here we are by Tuesday morning. Some energy showing up here by Tuesday morning, and then a deeper trough out across the western U.S. But notice these lines here, basically oriented from southwest to northeast, and that spells potential trouble for the Thursday time frame. Here we go into Thursday morning, and with this wind flow like this, any kind of a cold frontal system will tend to stall out. It will not have much push behind it. What that can do is allow for low-level cold air to make its way southward, let's say all the way down into the D.C. metro region, certainly the northern suburbs of D.C. So you have some of that low-level Arctic air, but with this west to southwest flow aloft, kind of tends to remain a little bit above freezing at certain levels of the atmosphere. On Thursday here, again, we'll have high pressure building in here and sending some cold air down, but it may be low-level cold air, and that kind of sets the stage for an icing event with low-level cold air but above freezing layer above the surface level, and that is what can happen with winds in the upper part of the atmosphere out of the west to southwest. Well, let's now walk through the surface forecast maps. By the way, these maps available from tropicaltidbits.com, and the EPO map was from Weatherbell Analytics. Quiet to start the work week. Will turn much milder here in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, way up in the 50s later on this afternoon after a moderately cold start to the day. And then the warm-up gets wet. Here we go into Tuesday afternoon. Warmer conditions out of the a low-level flow of air out of the southwest to the northeast, and we'll have a pretty decent rain event later tomorrow into tomorrow night. Here's the Tuesday evening forecast map, and some of this rain can be heavy at times. Again, it'll be a mild pattern over the next 3 days. No threat of ice or snow in this initial wave of moisture. Again, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night, rain for the Mid-Atlantic region. Colder air starts to pour into the Central Plains here by tomorrow night, and that starts to spill to the east by the time we get into the late week. Here we go by Wednesday afternoon, and there's a frontal system lying right in this region right here as of Wednesday afternoon. This is that cold front dropping to the south and east, and we'll watch this high pressure area start to build right here into southeastern Canada, again setting the stage for a cold air damming event where cold air drops in the low levels of the atmosphere down along the spine of the Appalachians. Again, with a little bit above freezing layer aloft, it can spell an ice event here, and that's what we're staring at for the Thursday time frame. Let's move forward here. Again, this is the GFS model run from 0Z last night. Here we go, moisture starting to show up here by the time we get into midday on Thursday, and then you start to see the pinks and the purples showing up here, especially like northern suburbs of D.C. and certainly across southern and central Pennsylvania, north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Expect some icing. That can be sleet, can be freezing rain, snow likely across northern Pennsylvania the way it looks right now. And again, this is still a few days in advance, so stay tuned over the next few days to fine-tune this forecast. But here is a key player right here. High pressure building into the southeastern part of Canada by Thursday evening. Again, that is going to send cold air down the spine of the Appalachians, a cold air damming situation, and we get quite a potential icing event here from, let's say, the northern suburbs of D.C. across southern and central Pennsylvania. You go far upstate Pennsylvania, southeastern New York, north and west of New York City, can be a significant snow event, but ice is the biggest concern right now. Ultimately, probably changes to plain rain, certainly in D.C. by Friday morning. It'll be a struggle, but it could change to plain rain even in Philadelphia. To the north and west, quite a concern as of Friday morning. We'll just see how that plays out. This is another sign of a cold air damming situation where you have low pressure forming off the mid-Atlantic coastline with high pressure remaining over southeastern Canada. And again, that spells trouble. It's a potential icing event in the making here for later Thursday into Thursday night. Northern suburbs of D.C. all the way across much of Pennsylvania. Let's move forward here. Again, it could end up as plain rain in that D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor on Friday morning, and then it turns cold behind it for the end of the work week and into the upcoming part of the weekend. But the next few days will be quite mild, but then we have a potential ice event to monitor closely here over the next couple of days for the Thursday evening, maybe even into Friday morning time frame for much of the Mid-Atlantic region. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.